How's it going, everybody? It's CJ here from Bothners, and today I'm going to take you through the step-by-step basics of restringing a bass guitar. Okay, here we have a standard 4-string bass guitar that is in desperate need of new strings. So the place to start, as always, obviously, is getting rid of the strings that are currently on the bass. So what we're going to do is we're just going to wind down our machine heads until the strings become nice and loose, and we can just pull them out like that. This does of course go a little bit faster with the string winder, but you don't need a string winder. You can absolutely do it by hand. Right, once you've got them all out like that, just bring this into shot and just push them out by the bridge, and they come out just like that. This can be thrown away. And there you have it, a stringless bass. This is also a good opportunity to wipe off any dust that you can't really get to when there are strings on the bass. So I always like to do that just with a cloth. Right. Next step, of course, is to get our strings on there. So I've got this pack of Ernie Ball Super Slinkies, and let's open it up. There you go. They'll come in separate packs like this, marketing aside, stacked from the thickest string right down to the thinnest string. If you get them jumbled up, that's no problem at all. As long as you're putting them in order from the thickest string, they're all labeled on these packages, from the thickest string being closest to you on the low end of the bass to the thinnest string being furthest away from you at the top end over here. So let's start off with our first string, the E string. Pull out our brand new fresh string, and the first step, of course, is to route it through our bridge, little hole right at the end. Get it through there, over this bridge section, and we pull it through. Once you've got it through the bridge, we need to attach it to our first machine head in line. So the best place to start is we want to line up these rows on your machine heads nicely with the direction that the string's going in, sort of like that. And now, before we start winding the string up, we need to decide how much slack we're going to give it. I like to give myself a little bit extra room past the machine head that we're actually working with to about the next machine head, maybe a little bit further. It's not an exact science, it's not too important, but we do have to have a little bit of wind just so that there's some string that can actually grip onto the machine head over here. So we're talking just past the next machine head. So till about there, and at this point, we want to clip the strings off. So we're going to shorten the string down. We've got it now to size exactly where I wanted it. And I'm now going to grab my clippers. You can use any clippers, it's not important, as long as it'll get through the string just like that. So now we've got our shortened string, to size for this bass, and inside our machine head there'll be a small hole that you can push it into. It'll look a little something like that, and then we can just bend that down so we'll get a little bit of a kink in the string. So now it's sitting at a right angle inside there, nice and locked in place, and then we can start winding. And we're always going to wind so that the string is winding away from us, so that the angle that the string will come around will be nice and close to the nut. I like to make sure that the string goes under the initial wind and then tightens up nicely once we get to that point. And there we have it. We've just put on our first bass string. Really simple. And we don't want to over tighten it at this point. You really just want to get to the point that it is taut, that it's not flapping about the place. We can worry about tuning it at a later stage. If you notice a little bit of fret buzz, something like this, it's not a problem. It's just because there's currently no load on the neck, or a very limited load. There's only one string on here now. The neck's used to having 4 strings on there. So it's going to bend back in the other direction and cause the frets to buzz on the strings a little bit, but that'll be fine once we get all 4 strings on. So we're going to move over to the next one, our A string. Open her up. And we're essentially repeating the process here. In at the end, over the bridge, through, straightening up our machine head, putting it through, giving ourselves a little bit past the next post, keeping a note of it with our finger, chopping it, whoops, slotting it in, bending it, and we can begin winding. So there's our A string ready to go. Let's get the D string on. Again, we're just repeating the process at this point. The only thing that's going to change is when we get to the string tree over here, which is really minor, but if you don't know what it is, it could be confusing. And it's at this point on the D string that on this bass we're approached by our first string tree. So all this serves to do is increase the angle between the nut and the string, just so it doesn't buzz on the nut too much. So all you want to do is make sure that you've got your string under your string tree, like that, all sorted. There's our D string. Moving on to the G, our final string. And we here, of course, don't have a next marker because we don't have another string, but it's easy to kind of imagine what that distance is. We use about the same distance. You can even go further back and you can measure, okay, about that. Not much cutting is necessary here because this is quite a long way for the string to make it anyway. But I'll chop that last bit off. Again, here we've got the string tree. We just make sure that the string is sitting under the string tree properly before we tighten up completely. And there you have it. Just like that, in a couple of minutes, we have our full restrung 4-string bass. And you can follow the exact same process if you've got a 5-string or even a 6-string. Nothing really changes. That is how you restring your bass guitar.